The night the dragon cried, the sky turned red. It was not sunset. It was not fire. It was something else. The sound came first. A deep, heavy cry that shook the air like thunder. Windows cracked. Car alarms started screaming. Birds flew away in panic. Dogs hid under cars. People ran into the streets, looking up. Above the city, something massive moved through the clouds. At first, they thought it was a storm. Then lightning flashed, and they saw it. Wings. Huge wings spreading across the sky. A dragon. Phones dropped from shaking hands. Someone screamed. Someone fainted. Sirens began to echo everywhere. Within minutes, the news channels were live. Unknown flying object over the city. Possible attack. Military response activated. Fighter jets roared into the air. Anti-air weapons unlocked. Soldiers shouted orders. The dragon circled the city slowly. It did not breathe fire. It did not attack. It just cried again. The second cry was louder, more painful. It did not sound angry. It sounded broken. Most people covered their ears, but one man did not. Armin stood outside his small mechanic workshop at the edge of the city. He had grease on his hands and fear in his eyes. He looked up at the sky, frozen. When the dragon cried again, something strange happened. Armin did not just hear a sound. He heard a word. Clear. Sharp. Inside his mind. Help. He stepped back. His heart started beating fast. That was impossible. It was just noise, right? The dragon cried again. And again the word came. Help. Armin grabbed his head. No, this is not real, he whispered. Around him, people were shouting, crying, recording videos. But no one reacted like he did, because no one else heard the word. The military made its first move. Missiles launched into the sky with bright flames behind them. The fighter jets closed in. The dragon moved fast, faster than anything in the sky. It dodged the missiles without attacking back. One jet fired directly at it. The explosion lit up the clouds. For a moment, everyone thought it was over. But when the smoke cleared, the dragon was still there. Not attacking, not destroying, just circling and crying. Armin's breathing became heavy. Why would a monster ask for help? He muttered. The dragon flew lower this time, low enough for people to see its eyes. They were glowing, not with rage, with pain. Then the city lights flickered. Electric signals around the area began to fail. Phones lost signal. Cars shut down. Screens went black. And the cry came again, this time stronger. Help! Armin fell to his knees. He could feel the emotion inside that sound. Fear, loss, desperation. The dragon was not here to attack. It was searching. Suddenly, loudspeakers from military vehicles filled the streets. Everyone returned to your homes immediately. City lockdown in effect. This is a hostile threat. Soldiers began pushing people back inside buildings. But Armin could not move. He kept staring at the sky. The dragon stopped moving. It hovered over the center of the city. Then it released one long cry that shook the ground. Windows shattered. Street lights exploded. The sound wave rolled through the city like an invisible storm. But inside that terrifying roar, Armin heard something new. Not just help. Another word. Child. He froze completely. Child? The dragon tilted its head slowly, as if listening, as if searching. Armin felt a sudden pressure in his chest, a strange connection, like something was pulling him toward the center of the city. The dragon turned, and for 1 second, its glowing eyes locked onto him. Even from miles away, Armin felt it. It saw him. The connection grew stronger. Child. The word echoed again in his mind, and then the dragon rose higher into the sky. Jets chased it. Missiles followed, but it flew toward the old mountain area outside the city instead of attacking. The military continued firing until the dragon disappeared into the clouds. Silence slowly returned. Smoke filled the air. Sirens echoed everywhere. News helicopters circled. People came out again, confused and terrified. What was that? Why didn't it attack? Is this the end? Armin stood up slowly. His hands were shaking. He looked toward the mountains. The dragon was not finished. He knew it, because that was not a war cry. It was a cry of pain, and somehow, it chose him to hear it. Armin looked at his phone. No signal. He looked at the dark sky. The red color was fading. But deep inside, he felt something had just begun. The dragon had spoken, not to the world, to him, and the word still echoed in his mind. Child, Armin whispered to himself. What did they do to your child? Far away beyond the mountains, something moved in the shadows. And somewhere inside the human city, something small and hidden was waiting to be found. The government called it an invasion. The news called it the beginning of war. But Armin knew the truth. That cry was not a threat. It was a mother screaming. The city was under full lockdown by morning. Soldiers stood on every street. Drones filled the sky. Military trucks blocked the highways. The mountains were sealed. No one allowed in. No one allowed out. But Armin did not sleep that night. The word child kept echoing in his mind. It did not feel like imagination anymore. It felt like a connection, like something alive was reaching for him. Around 3 a.m., the power in his small workshop suddenly shut off. Total darkness. Then something strange happened. The metal tools hanging on the wall began to vibrate. Soft at first, then stronger. Armin stepped back. The air felt heavy. And then the cry came again. But this time, only he heard it, not through his ears. Inside his head, come. His heart almost stopped. The dragon was calling him. From the mountains. Without thinking, Armin grabbed his jacket and walked outside. The streets were empty. Curfew sirens echoed in the distance. Searchlights scanned the sky. He knew he could be arrested. Shot even. But something stronger than fear pushed him forward. He had to know. As he reached the first military checkpoint, soldiers pointed rifles at him. Go back inside. He raised his hand slowly. I know why it came, he said. The soldiers laughed. Everyone thinks they know something. But then, all radios around them began to glitch. Static filled the air. And from every radio speaker, a low, distorted sound came out. The dragon's cry. The soldiers froze. Armin felt it again. The word. Child. He looked at the commander. It's not here to destroy us, Armin said calmly. It's looking for its baby. The commander's face changed. How would you know that? Armin hesitated. Because the real answer sounded crazy. It told me. Before the commander could react, an emergency message came through. Unidentified energy spike detected inside city limits. Everyone went silent. Inside the city? Not in the mountains. Not outside. Inside. The dragon was not searching randomly. It knew. Its child was somewhere in the city. The commander grabbed his radio. Find the source of that energy spike now. Armin felt a sharp pain in his head. Images flashed in his mind. Cold metal walls. Bright white lights. Chains. A small creature breathing weakly. He fell to one knee. The soldiers thought he was pretending. But he wasn't. He was seeing something. Feeling something. Underground, he whispered. What? It's underground. At that exact moment, the mountains shook. The dragon rose from behind the peaks again. This time it did not circle. It flew straight toward the city. Jets scrambled again. Missiles locked on. But before they could fire, the dragon released a roar so powerful that every electronic system in the air shut down. Jets lost control and barely avoided crashing. Drones fell like dead birds. Cars stalled. Street lights exploded. The entire city went dark. Only the dragon's glowing eyes lit the sky. People screamed. Chaos returned. But the dragon did not attack. It hovered above the industrial zone, directly above an old government research facility, a place officially closed 5 years ago. Unofficially, no one knew. The commander's face turned pale. He knew that building. Evacuate the area, he shouted. But it was too late. The dragon lowered closer. Not to burn, not to destroy, but to listen. Armin stood up slowly. He looked toward the industrial zone. He felt it clearly now. The child was alive. Weak, but alive. And scared. The dragon's voice entered his mind one more time. Bring. It was not a request anymore. It was a command. But not angry. Desperate. Armin looked at the commander. If you keep attacking, this city will burn. The commander stared at him. How are you connected to it? I don't know. Armin said honestly. But I know one thing. If that baby dies, nothing will stop her. For the first time, fear was not in the citizens. It was in the military. Because deep down, they knew something. They had found something months ago, something that crashed outside the city, something they took, something they studied, something they hid. And now, its mother had come. The dragon suddenly turned its head, its glowing eyes locked onto Armin again. Even from miles away, even through smoke and darkness, it saw him. It trusted him. Not the soldiers, not the leaders, not the scientists. Him. The ground beneath the research facility began to crack. Not from attack, from pressure, from power building up. Inside the underground lab, something small opened its glowing eyes. And for the first time, it cried back. The sound was weak, but strong enough. The dragon roared in response. The sky split with light, and the city realized something terrifying. This was not the beginning of a war. It was the beginning of a rescue. And the only human standing between destruction and survival was a simple mechanic who heard a word no one else could understand. The dragon was no longer circling. It was waiting, hovering above the old research facility like a storm ready to fall. Inside that building, alarms were screaming. Red emergency lights flashed across cold metal walls. Deep underground, in a hidden chamber no citizen knew existed, something small was chained to a steel platform. The dragon child. Its wings were too small to fly. Its scales were pale and cracked. Strange wires were connected to its head. Machines surrounded it. Scientists stood behind thick glass walls, watching. Energy levels rising again. One of them whispered, "It's reacting to the adult," another replied. They were not afraid of the dragon. They were afraid of losing control. Months ago, something crashed outside the city. The military recovered it before sunrise. Inside the wreckage, they found a baby dragon. Weak, alone. They called it a biological weapon. They called it Project Ember. They never called it child. Back above ground, Armin pushed through soldiers and chaos. He knew exactly where to go. The industrial zone, the abandoned facility. He did not know how he knew. He just felt it. The dragon's voice echoed again in his mind. Pain. The word hit him like a hammer. As Armin reached the gates, armed guards blocked his path. No civilians allowed. Before they could grab him, the entire ground shook. The dragon let out a roar that shattered every window in the building. Dust fell from the sky. The guards panicked. Some ran. Some froze. Armin used the moment. He slipped inside. The building looked empty. But it wasn't. Hidden elevators. Secret codes. Locked doors. He followed the feeling in his chest. Down. Lower. Deeper underground. Meanwhile, in the control room, the head scientist stared at the screens. The adult is locking onto the building, he said nervously. The military commander stood beside him. You told me this thing was under control. It was, the scientist replied. Until now. On the screen, the dragon's eyes glowed brighter. Energy readings were rising fast. If it attacked directly, the entire industrial zone would be gone, and maybe half the city with it. Underground, Armin finally found the hidden elevator. It required a security card. He didn't have one, but at that moment the lights flickered. All systems glitched again. The dragon's energy pulse hit the building. The elevator doors slid open by themselves, like the building wanted him inside. He stepped in. The doors closed, descending. Each second felt heavier. Then, he heard it. A soft cry, not loud like the mother. Small, weak, scared. Mother! The word entered his mind so clearly that his legs nearly gave out. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Cold air rushed out. The room was huge. Bright white lights, metal walls, and in the center, the dragon child, chained. Its wings spread painfully against restraints. Its glowing eyes were dim. Armin froze. He expected a monster. He saw a child. It was smaller than he imagined. Its breathing was slow, its body covered in small wounds. Wires attached to its head were pulling energy from it, using it, studying it, breaking it. The dragon child slowly lifted its head. It looked directly at Armin, not with anger, with hope. You hear, the voice whispered inside him. He stepped closer. Behind the glass walls, scientists began shouting. Unauthorized access. Security breach underground. The commander's voice came through speakers. Arrest him immediately. Guards rushed down the hallway. But something happened before they arrived. The dragon child cried. A tiny, painful sound. And high above, the mother answered. The sky exploded with thunder. The dragon released a roar so powerful that the entire facility cracked. Metal beams bent. Glass shattered. Power systems exploded. The underground room trembled violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The scientists panicked. Shut it down. Sedate it. One scientist reached for a control panel. Before he could press anything, every machine in the room sparked and died. The wires attached to the baby dragon burned away. The restraints unlocked. The mother had cut the power. Not with fire, with energy. Armin ran to the dragon child. It collapsed into his arms. It was warm, too warm. Its body was unstable. It hurts, the child whispered in his mind. Armin felt tears in his eyes. They hurt you, he said softly. The dragon child pressed its small head against his chest. Mother coming. Suddenly, the ceiling above them cracked open. Not fully, but enough to let in red light from the sky. The adult dragon was landing. Directly above, the commander's voice echoed through broken speakers. Evacuate. Evacuate immediately. But it was too late. The dragon was no longer waiting. This was not about searching anymore. This was about taking back what was stolen. Armin looked up at the cracking ceiling. If the dragon attacked fully, everyone underground would die, including him, including the child. He realized something terrifying. The dragon was not angry at him. It trusted him, which meant he had to stop it. The ground split wider. A massive claw pierced through concrete like paper. Firelight flooded the room. The dragon's eye appeared through the broken ceiling. Huge, burning, furious, and heartbroken. The city above was screaming. The military was retreating. The world was watching live on broken cameras. And deep underground, a simple mechanic stood holding a wounded dragon child between a mother's rage and humanity's mistake. The dragon's eye filled the broken ceiling. It was not just angry. It was shattered. Its claw tore through concrete like paper. Steel beams snapped. The underground chamber shook like it would collapse any second. Above ground, people saw the impossible. The dragon was not attacking the city. It was tearing open the earth. To reach its child, the military made one final decision. Prepare full strike. Heavy missiles were activated outside the city. Weapons no one had ever used inside national borders. If they fired, the dragon would die. But so would half the industrial zone, and maybe thousands of civilians. Underground, Armin stood frozen, holding the small dragon tightly. The baby's body was glowing brighter now. Not from strength, from instability. It was reacting to its mother's rage. The dragon above roared again. This time a sound cracked mountains in the distance. Cars flipped. Glass shattered miles away. People screamed that it was the end. But Armin heard something different inside that roar. Not just anger. Fear. Move. The dragon's voice thundered inside his mind. It was not speaking to the world. It was speaking to him. The ceiling split wider. Flames poured down, but they did not burn him. The fire curved around him. Around the child, like it was protecting them. The scientists who had stayed behind tried to escape through emergency tunnels. But the ground sealed behind them. Not crushed. Blocked. The dragon was not killing randomly. It was controlled. Focused. Targeted. Armin looked up into the massive glowing eye. You'll kill everyone, he shouted. For a second, the dragon stopped moving. The eye narrowed. Then the voice came again. Not all. Armin understood the meaning. Not innocent. Not child. But those who hurt. The dragon wanted justice. Not destruction. But rage is hard to control. Especially for a mother. Above ground, the military countdown began. 10 seconds to launch. The commander's hand hovered over the authorization key. If he turned it, missiles would fire. Underground, the dragon child suddenly gripped Armin's shirt with small claws. Stop her. The voice was weak, but clear. Armin felt shock run through him. Me? You hear? She listened. The child was right. The dragon trusted him. That was the only reason he was still alive. He stepped forward under the open sky crack. He held the baby up carefully. Look, he shouted. The dragon's eye shifted down. It saw a child clearly now. Not on a screen. Not through pain. Right there. Alive. The glow in the dragon's eyes changed. The rage flickered. The missiles above were now 3 seconds from launch. Armin took a deep breath. If you attack, they attack. The dragon's breathing slowed slightly. If they attack, you die. The words were simple, direct. No fear in his voice. Just truth. Above ground, the commander saw something on the live drone feed before it cut out. The human, standing beneath the dragon, holding something small. He hesitated. 2 seconds. Underground, Armin lowered the baby slightly so the mother could see its wounds. The chain's marks, the burns, the wires. Silence fell for 1 heavy second. The dragon let out a sound no one expected. Not a roar, a broken cry. The baby reached out a small wing. Mother. That word did not enter just Armin's mind this time. It echoed across the entire sky. For 1 second, everyone heard it. The commander froze. His hand stopped turning the key. The dragon slowly pulled its claw back from the broken ceiling. The ground stopped shaking. Fire faded. Smoke drifted upward. The dragon lowered its massive head closer to the opening instead of striking. Carefully, slowly, Armin stepped forward and lifted the baby higher. The mother extended 1 giant wing into the chamber. It wrapped around the child gently, so gently that it didn't crack a single stone. The baby was lifted from Armin's arms. For a moment, he thought it was over. Then something unexpected happened. The dragon did not fly away. It stayed, its eye locked onto Armin. Deep, ancient, powerful. You protected. The voice entered his mind. Simple words, but heavy. I tried, Armin replied quietly. Above ground, soldiers waited for the next move. Civilians watched in shock from rooftops. The world held its breath. The dragon's wings spread wide. For 1 terrifying second, everyone thought it would destroy the city anyway. Instead, the dragon rose into the sky. Not in rage, in control. The clouds parted. The red glow began to fade. The missiles were disarmed. The emergency sirens slowly stopped. But just when relief began to spread, the ground trembled again. Not from the dragon. From beneath the lab, a deep, unnatural sound echoed. The research facility began collapsing into itself. The damage was too heavy. If it fully collapsed, it would cause a chain explosion from stored weapons underground. And that explosion would still destroy half the city. The dragon was already flying toward the mountains. The military systems were offline. No one could stop it, except the one person already underground. Armin. He looked at the cracking walls, the collapsing floor, the sparks flying everywhere. He realized something horrible. The dragons had come for rescue, but humanity's own secrets were about to destroy the city anyway. And now, the one human the dragon trusted had seconds to decide whether to run or save the people who almost caused a war. The ground was breaking apart. The underground facility was collapsing fast. Massive cracks ran across the floor. Sparks flew from broken wires. Deep below, hidden weapon storage units were overheating. If they exploded, the city would not survive. Armin stood alone in the middle of it. The dragon was already flying away with her child. The military had retreated. Everyone else was running. But he was still there. He looked up at the broken ceiling. The sky was no longer red, but smoke filled the air. He had one choice: run and live, or stay and stop the explosion. He remembered the dragon's last words. You protected, not you saved, not you fought. You protected. Protection did not end yet. Armin ran deeper into the underground chamber instead of toward the exit. He remembered something from years ago. He once worked on electrical systems for the city's old power grid. He knew how unstable systems behaved. And right now, this facility was a ticking bomb. He reached the main control room. Half of it was destroyed. Screens were broken. Lights flickered. Warning alarms screamed nonstop. On one cracked monitor he saw it. Core overload, 87%. When it reached 100%, the underground weapons storage would detonate. And there was no evacuation big enough for that blast. He searched for manual override. The automatic systems were dead. Only manual control remained. But manual control was inside the reactor chamber, which was flooding with heat. He swallowed hard. He could leave right now. No one would blame him. He had already done enough. But he imagined the dragon child growing up somewhere in the mountains. Free. Safe. Because someone chose courage. Now it was his turn again. He opened the reactor door. Heat blasted into his face. The metal floor was burning hot. He covered his mouth with his sleeve and stepped inside. The core was glowing bright orange. Energy surging wildly. He reached the control panel. Melted. Half destroyed. He would have to shut it down manually, which meant pulling the energy rods out one by one. If he made one mistake, it would explode instantly. Above ground, the military commander was watching live damage reports. He heard something impossible from a remaining drone feed. Movement underground. Who is still in there, he demanded. Sir, it's the civilian. The commander stared at the screen. The mechanic. Still inside. Why? Inside the reactor room, Armin grabbed the first energy rod. The heat burned through his gloves. He pulled. The rod resisted. Core overload, 92%. Sweat ran down his face. The building shook violently. He pulled harder. The rod came free. The core dimmed slightly. Core overload, 85%. Still not enough. He moved to the second rod. His hands were blistering now. The metal screamed as he forced it loose. Core overload, 78%. The ground trembled again. Outside the city, high above the mountains, the dragon suddenly stopped flying. She felt it. The child felt it too. Human in danger, the baby whispered. The mother turned midair. Without hesitation, she flew back. Inside the reactor chamber, Armin collapsed to one knee. The heat was too much. Core overload, 74%. Not safe yet. He dragged himself to the final control rod. It was jammed, half melted into place. He tried pulling. Nothing. He tried twisting. Nothing. The overload percentage began rising again. 75%. 76%. The system was unstable. He looked at the rod. If he forced it too fast, it would spike. If he waited, it would explode. There was no perfect choice. Only risk. He took a deep breath. For them, he whispered, and pulled with everything he had. The rod snapped loose, but energy surged violently. The core flared white. The building shook like it was being ripped apart. Above ground, soldiers prepared for impact. People screamed again, but before the explosion could happen, the roof of the facility was torn open by massive claws. The dragon returned. She landed directly above the reactor chamber. Her wings wrapped around the entire building. Not to attack, to contain. A massive shield of fire surrounded the structure, holding the unstable energy inside. Inside the chamber, Armin saw the ceiling rip open. Red light filled the room. The dragon's eye appeared again, but this time, not in rage. In protection, the final energy surge hit, but the dragon absorbed the blast inside her wings. The shockwave exploded upward into the sky instead of across the city. A pillar of fire shot into the clouds. Windows shattered miles away, but the city stood. The core went dark. Core overload, 0%. Silence. Armin collapsed to the floor. The heat faded. Smoke cleared slowly. The dragon lowered her head into the open chamber. Her eyes looked at him carefully. You stay. Her voice echoed gently. He smiled weakly. You came back. The dragon blinked slowly. Respect. Not fear. Not anger. Respect. The dragon child peeked from beneath her wing. Its glow was stronger now. Healthier. The dragon leaned closer. Human protect human, she said. Then after a pause, human protect dragon. The words spread across the sky again. This time, the entire city heard them clearly. No distortion. No confusion. Just truth. The world realized something powerful that day. Dragons were not monsters, and not all humans were cruel. As the dragon rose into the sky once more, she did not disappear into the clouds immediately. She circled the city one final time, not as a threat, as a promise. Then she flew toward the mountains. Peacefully, the military lowered their weapons. The commander removed his cap slowly. He saved us, one soldier whispered, but the commander shook his head. No, he said quietly. They saved each other, and somewhere high in the sky, a dragon mother and her child flew free. Because one human chose to listen when everyone else only heard noise.